Okay, he and I probably drive the same, because I don't like speeding tickets. Hey, I have no speeding tickets in years, he and I probably drive the same.
Right now, he's for the rest of you guys, so right now it's written as well, they get that like.
Good evening and welcome to the March 4th, 2025 regular Salem City Council meeting. It will now come to order. We will have the invocation given by Diane Mullins, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's not made for short people. I just want to thank this council for your consideration last meeting, I want to thank you for your consideration to vote no for marijuana dispensary. And I'm just saying that because I appreciate all of you and all the work you're doing for Salem. I've lived in Salem for 50 years, and I just know that you're going to do the right thing. God bless you. I just want to read my, I have 3 favorite scriptures, and then I'll do the prayer. John 3:16, of course, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. John 3:17, for God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. And the final one, it's Revelations 3:20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. That's your heart. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door of your heart, I will come into him and dine with him, and he with me, or fellowship instead of dine. So I just want to pray for this meeting tonight. Lord Jesus, I lift up every person in this city council, all those who help, all those who do anything for Salem, Ohio. And I want to thank you for them. I want to thank you for the unity that's here and for your spirit that's here to help each one of them. I know you know them all by name. You said you know every hair on our head, and you know all theirs. And I thank you, Lord, for this city council, and I ask you to give them wisdom to make right decisions for the city of Salem and for the people here. And I ask it all in Jesus' wonderful name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Bear,
Present.
Ms. Bricker. Here. Mr. Gano.
Here.
Mr. Newman.
Here.
Mr. Knoll.
Present.
Mr. Stockman.
Here.
Mr. Zellers.
Here.
Everyone has received minutes from the February 18th meeting. Are there any additions, changes, or deletions? Thank you. Don't die. Thanks. We do not have any petitions this evening. We also do not have any visitors, so we're moving on to the report of city officials. Mayor Dickey.
Thank you. I just want to say that we have ordinance 13 before you this evening, which is an adjustment to our non-bargaining benefits. Quite some time ago, when I was still on council, so most of you were, I don't think any of you were here, maybe Andrew, we had a discussion before contract negotiations about how much time, how much compensatory time people could carry over into the new year. What happens now is that it is paid out up after a certain limit, that first pay of December, and you can only carry over 160 hours if you're a non-bargaining person. So there's a lot of discussion about some of our workers, for instance, our service director, our streets department, some of our parks people. When there's snow or when there's big projects in the first part of the year, they may carry over the max, the 160 hours. But the minute they get another one, payroll was paying it out because they were over the limit. But the discussion we had had previously was not to do that. It was to allow them to carry over the 160 and then start accumulating it for the next year. And by the end of the next year, in that first period of December, anything that they hadn't used already over the 160, they would either get paid out if they desired, or they could have used it for time off during the year. And so like our streets departments, a lot of those guys, if they have a big snow in January, would have lost that time and not had the ability to take it during the nice weather. And we didn't want to do that to them. That doesn't benefit anybody. We want to let them use that time when they have time to take, not during a snow emergency. So we would like to change that to allow them to carry over the 160, these non-bargaining people to carry over the 160, and then continue to accumulate it beyond that. At the end of the next year, if they haven't used it or had it cashed out, they would get paid for anything over 160 again. So that's what this is all about. Does that make sense? Yes.
I'm guessing that this obviously has been going on for a very long time. What brought this to the attention of yourself to
So-
bring it to our attention?
One of our employees had carried over the maximum amount of compensatory time and then had accumulated more in January, and in their paycheck, it was just automatically paid to them. They didn't request that. They wanted to keep it for later in the year to take it, the time off. And so we went back and looked at it, and Sue, who's doing our payroll now, showed us that it was never changed. It got overlooked. So we would like to change that for them.
So, I apologize.
Well, my question is, when you were on council, you changed it to this way, correct? Now we're changing it differently?
We intended to change it the way we want to tonight.
Oh,
It just never got done. For some reason, that got overlooked in the contract, and they didn't notice it either. It really works for us, because we don't have to pay it out as quickly, for one thing. We get to keep that money in the account for longer, and it helps them because then they can actually take it for time off when they have the time to take. I don't want them calling off in the middle of a snow emergency because they have time to take, and they're gonna lose it.
Mr. Knoll, I apologize.
I was just curious. So at some point, it has to be paid out, is what you're saying. But by paying it out, we're saying you can't take the time. Can't we just pay it out no matter what, and they can still have the time off?
Yeah, they just hold on to their money. It's their money. They're not losing
They
it.
like to have that extra day off because they worked all that overtime.
No, that's what I'm saying. You do get paid for it at the beginning of the year, and if you want to take a day off June 6th, you still have that day off. You just don't get paid for it. You already got paid for it at the front end.
What, they get taxed higher.
Can't avoid the tax, man.
Yeah, aren't they
Well,
paid the
it's
same?
so if I take a day
An hour
off
later?
and I just get it as paid time, that tax rate in most cases is less than if I get paid my regular time plus that. That's why they take comp time instead of overtime, is to spread it out so that they don't get that big tax burden, or because they want to have additional days off. So this is not something that's unusual with people who get compensatory time. This is very usual.
Mr. Zellers?
So Mayor, if I understand it correctly, it's not gonna cost the city any money, is that correct?
No, it actually will save us a little bit.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
It kind of works for both of us.
I see your thumbs moving. I wasn't sure.
Oh, no, I was just talking to myself.
Mr. Knoll, did you have anything else?
No, I'm just trying to process it.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
You're welcome. That's all I have this evening.
Any other questions for Mayor Dickey?
Madam Mayor, in the state of the city, at our last city council meeting, I was looking forward to an update on our revitalization district. What is the current status of
So
that
that has been-
revitalization district?
That was approved.
Okay. And what is the
and-
next step for
So
council?
it is sitting there, so then it's gonna be up to council what they want to do with it from here. We have that revitalization district, which will allow those extra licenses. So the next block that we did talk about originally was that the clunkiness of the system of when businesses want to get a license, they have to go to the voters at each individual site for each individual owner and get all the signatures and have it put on the ballot to allow them to have alcohol in that site. We had talked when we originally discussed doing a revitalization district about looking into whether or not we could put an issue on the ballot to allow those areas within the revitalization period district to be considered, wet. So they wouldn't have to go through that process, but so I guess our next step would be in looking into the legalities of how to do that. It would be the voting pools that were touching those areas, and it would only be the commercial properties within that district.
Okay.
So I guess you'd have to have another committee to talk about the legalities of doing that, and if you did decide that that was the way to go, you could vote to do a ballot issue as council for those areas.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Zone?
Actually, that was the only thing I intended to speak on tonight on my report.
Good.
The revitalization district, as the mayor indicated on January 10th, we were finally approved for up to 15 D5L licenses. A D5 license is a license from 5:30 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. is how those operate, and we can have up to 15 in that district. Actually, the licenses are approved. They have given us the mechanism for the people to already apply for those licenses, so they can get them now. We already have one business that has started that process to work on that. The question of wet or dry is actually different from the revitalization district. The licenses are approved. Wet or dry is a determination of types of sales, days of sales, things of that nature. Dry areas may not be completely dry, they just may not allow Sunday sales or maybe sale of intoxicating liquor, but yet beer or wine, things of that nature. And I think previously when we had talked about maybe doing a ballot issue for that was to make that entire district not just subject to these D5L licenses, but to allow them to be wet, in other words, to sell everything and potentially on Sunday, so they don't have to, each business doesn't have to file separately, site-specific, to get those things that they were looking for, so.
And so do we still have to do that with these D5 licenses?
We don't have to. The folks can just operate on the D5 now without the city taking any further action. Right now, most of the businesses in town have always filed site-specific. You see it on the ballot. This place wants to sell on Sundays. This place wants to increase their time. We could do it for the entire district one time and put that on the ballot for the voters to say yes or no. So it could be Sunday sales and, I don't know, we're not gonna increase hours of operation. That's already the biggest hours of operation. So I think it would just be probably Sunday sales to make that entire district wet for that, football, whatever. Because the idea of revitalization district is to obviously try to bring people in town to places that serve food and alcohol, and hopefully then people walk out of those businesses and go to the shops or whatever they're gonna do. Folks after church maybe go have lunch. And
So they don't have to go to the ballot to get approved to get that license?
now, the Department of Commerce is they gave us the instructions on how to apply for them already.
So there's no rush to do anything with that
No,
situation?
there's not at this point in time.
That's easier yet.
Yeah, so I thought that was great.
Thank you.
That's good. On the D5 license you're talking about though, correct me if I'm wrong, for the revitalization district, it can't just be for a straight bar though, right?
No,
It's
there
gotta
has to
be-
be a certain amount of food.
70%, yeah.
You're right about that, Jake.
Okay.
And it can't be transferred to another location outside the revitalization
Yeah.
district if the establishment moves.
And I guess maybe I better clarify that. It has to be a certain amount of food, or if it's an entertainment venue,
Yeah.
like a theater or a stadium, something like that.
Yep.
Those qualifiers
Okay.
I think it's 70% food, I think,
for
Yeah.
restaurant.
of
bar,
the
yeah.
sales,
It's-
yeah.
It's pretty hefty. Yes, sir.
So, following that line of thinking, if it were to get put on the ballot, it would be for the revitalization district, right? And so it would only go on the ballot if you wanted to go outside that D5 license, if you wanted a different type of license.
Yeah, if we were gonna try to expand that license into, allowing Sunday sales or things of that nature.
And so if that were to, say we went forward with it, we wanted to go onto the ballot for something outside of that, and it got voted down, that would shut it down for all of them for good, right?
It would only shut down that issue that we tried to ballot. It wouldn't stop the liquor license. They
No,
would
but I
still-
mean, if somebody came in at a later date and wanted to open like a bourbon distillery or something, and that was outside the D5, already been voted on, done, you just can't do it, right? So you'd
It can always be
closing-
brought back to the ballot. I mean, any issue can come back to the ballot. And also, wouldn't have to be specific for the entire revitalization district, like some of those districts are in different wards of the city, or you could go site-specific. So if, say a distillery did come along and needed that's an A license in that situation, but also wanted to have the food and beverage on the other side, they could do that on a site-specific situation. They could go to the ballot for their one location.
So it'd probably be prudent to be a little bit more strategic as opposed to just throwing a blanket
Yeah, maybe.
at the ballot. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Attorney Zellers? Auditor, Mr. Salvino.
Thank you. I have no official report, but be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Mumpire.
How are you?
Great, how are you?
Good. I'm gonna wait till the handouts go around everybody, and then I'll start.
Oh, Joe, sorry. Thank you.
Okay. First page you should have gotten is the flow chart, right? We had a meeting 2 weeks ago to discuss Rita collecting our delinquent income tax. So I thought it'd make it a little easier for everybody to understand what the process is now. And on the reverse side is the process with Rita taking over collections for the city. Okay? You guys can review that, and then, I don't know if Andrew, if you still wanted to go through those bullet points that you had in the email that you sent us?
I think there's some value because a few of the members weren't able to attend the finance meeting, and there were some
Okay.
questions brought to me, so I thought there's,
And Madam President, is it okay if I address that now? Mr. Knoll?
yes, sir.
Okay,
Please.
Sal, you wanna come up here as well? I believe that Sal has the information for the bullet point number 1, which is the fee schedule for Rita tax collection that is being processed or proposed. Is that right?
Yeah, basically, this was already sent out. This was a recap from Cloudy U, from Rita. And that was dispersed to the council members. I wanna say, I think Andrew sent an email out. And then that was a response email, I think 4 or 5 days ago. You guys all received that.
Yes, February 26th, yeah.
So that's the, and I believe he touched on some stuff during that meeting 2 weeks ago.
I had a
But it's
hard
just a
time-
recap.
I had a hard time understanding, and that's one of the reasons I wanted clarification as well. No, just, that's a
Yeah, I
fact.
understand. There's
So
a
that's-
there's a
yeah.
language barrier. I
Yep.
understand that.
Yeah.
So if you just walk through that, Sal, for us, what the fee is, how it works, how it's charged, how it comes off.
So basically, my question to Cloudy was, to go over the fee schedule. If the city signs up for basically this is just what he was saying, if the city signs up for the legal program, the $3,000 upfront fee will be deducted from the city's first distribution the following month. The $35 an hour fee for attending the hearing, that will be split between all the municipalities that file in the same court we currently file for, Rita currently files for 3 other municipalities in Columbiana County. This cost then would come out of the distribution every month, only if cases will be filed. If the taxpayer won't set up a payment plan or pay in full, their outstanding tax balance will then be forwarded, the account will be forwarded to legal to pretty much sue for the outstanding balance. Once a judgment is in place and the taxpayer is still not working towards a resolution, then they'll forward the account to an outside collection agency. He used Reamer Law here. And then they in turn then will file the garnishments or attach liens to the taxpayer property. Their fee is 18% of collections. However, according to them, this cost gets passed on to the taxpayer. So if anybody has any specific questions about the layout, I'd be more than happy to reach out to Claudio, if I can't answer the question on that.
Okay, so right off the bat, we pay a $3,000 upfront fee, right? So if there were no collections that year, I know that's not realistic, but if there was no collections, we pay them $3,000 for the service, right?
It stays in the pot. So that's a legal fee pot, basically. Okay, so you're gonna put up retainer fees, basically what it is. It's a $3,000 retainer fee.
Okay.
If Brooke were to have a client and he was getting divorced, or he or she, they would put up a retainer for him so he could cover his costs. It's the same thing for us, $3,000 retainer fee that the city would put up out of the next month's process ACH for the amount that they've already collected for us, okay? That sits in a pot, it doesn't go anywhere. Now, when they file legal action against the party, that legal action, that money would come out of that pot for the attorney fee, okay? Now, on the reverse side of that, if they get judgment, the cost would be brought back in from the cost back into that pot. So let's say, for instance, somebody owes $100 and they take them to court. Okay, there'd be court cost and cost involved in it. The attorney fees are included with that. So that would go back into the pot. So it's just replenishing itself all the time.
And
So
are we
it's-
incurring that cost?
No, we're not incurring that cost. That comes out of the $3,000 pot. So every time somebody pays their fee, their court cost, that fee comes back into the pot. It goes right back into that pot and it replenishes itself.
So 3,000 is the most the city would ever pay?
Yes.
And that would be per year?
Well, not for much. It could be $3,000 for many years. It could be, that fee could stay there. I mean, that fee is always gonna be replenished. So it's not an annual fee that you would come up with every
So it's an
year.
initial fee and it just has to always stay at that level?
Yeah, it stays at that level, yes.
Okay.
It's something that I think that the South touched on was, when Rita gets a judgment, they're gonna garnish somebody, or they're gonna send it out to, actually, they're gonna send it out to a collection agency, and they're gonna garnish, they're gonna do whatever they have to do to get the money, okay? That 18% fee is not our responsibility. That goes back to the taxpayer or the delinquent.
So then we're getting that money back through
Yeah.
the legal action of collection.
Correct, we got our money back.
So how does Rita get paid then?
We pay them an annual fee. We pay 3% to process our collection. That's how they get paid.
Okay. So every year we pay them 3% of what?
Right, and that varies, so we get a refund check at the end of the year, right?
Well, much like
So,
the tax service that we have with Rita now. It's
Right.
dependent upon the amount.
Correct.
And that,
they take a census of how much it took to collect for everybody in the group,
correct,
and that's how we get a refund.
okay.
Go ahead, Brooke. I know you have a
Just a
question. I
question.
can see the wheels spinning over there.
So it sounds like you're saying that as part of what the outside counsel is gonna collect is also gonna be attorney's fees? Cause that's not possible.
No, they're not gonna collect attorney fees.
So the 18%, how's it covered now?
The 18% is, that fee goes, so they're gonna have court cost, right? They're gonna have to pay court cost regardless.
Sure.
But they're gonna get a judgment against them for like whatever it might be, like $5,000. That's what the attorney's gonna go after, the $5,000. So the court cost and the fees that are associated with the court cost, like the attorney fees that are included with that, will come back into the pot.
I'm just wondering though, a court's not typically able to award attorney's fees in these type of cases, so how are they doing that?
That's what they told me, so.
Cause we would never be able to do that here, I'm just saying, that's impossible in any of the counties that I practice in. So I assume they'd have to file against the taxpayers in these counties, that's where we live.
Right. It all goes down to meeting court.
Yeah, that would really surprise me if there's a way to have that happen. If so, then all of the lawyers need to find out that magic secret.
Isn't there a way that you can add attorney costs onto that for prosecuting the case?
No,
No.
that's straight up attorney's fees, and to get those requires some very special, specific things.
Okay.
So I don't know how they would do it, but
Well, I can clarify that.
Yeah, maybe that's a point to read.
Yeah, I can go back and clarify that with him.
I mean, if they can, that's wonderful, but, and if they can't, I want to know how to do it.
I'll tell you.
I have my own cases.
Because that is what he said.
But
Yeah.
to go back, this really is not costing us any money. It's actually, if we don't do it, it's gonna cost us money because there's a long process that gets involved in this. And I can give you a scenario of what happened this week to me. So I've got a taxpayer that called, said he'd already paid Rita $599 for his taxes for 2021. He paid it online. Well, guess what? That 2021 tax was already sent to the AG's office. So now I gotta reverse everything. So it's a long drawn-out process to reverse this, and it's a long drawn-out process to get this submitted to the AG's office for collection.
So you're currently the person that's doing this now?
I'm it, I have no staff, I'm it.
Oh, you're doing it now.
So I'm it.
And then I collect.
Yeah.
Then
Ah.
it comes to me.
So keep in
Muscle memory.
mind that prior to Rita, there was an income tax department in the city of Salem.
Yes,
They did all
yes.
this.
Yes.
You know, the treasurer didn't do anything other than sign checks and do what he was supposed to do by statute, okay? They had a staff that collected all the income tax. They're the ones that went out to delinquents. They did all that. You've taken all that away. So now it's.
I wasn't here.
No, I'm not saying you
Yeah.
particularly. I'm saying
I'm
that
like-
was all taken away. So now it all went back to Rita for the collection, but they only process the collections, they attempt to process collection twice. They get 2 notices of somebody, and after that, they send it to us for collection. And then me, have to prepare everything to send to the AG's office. So that's where the process comes to. And keep in mind that, tax season's upon us. So there's money that we could be getting in the coffers that we're not gonna get, so.
Well, I mean, the money's not gonna be there unless we get it, right?
Well, unless we get
One
it,
way or
right,
another,
right,
you or
right,
Rita. so-
Right, but I think that, as I stated last time, that Rita already has all this tax information. It'd be much easier for them to process than it would be for me to process it. And plus, they have a little bit of legal background, they have legal teeth that they can go after these people, and I can't. It's like I said, everybody hates to pay taxes, but there's 2 things you have to do in life: pay taxes and die. That's the way it is.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions with regard?
So there's 3 municipalities that are in this pot in the county, is what you said, so we would be the 4th
Yeah.
in this,
So what happens is the attorney fees are $70 an hour, and they split those up. So if an attorney goes down there, he's handling more than one case, they split it.
How long's Rita been doing the taxes in Salem now?
How long is it?
When did we change? I forget. 5 years ago?
20, I wanna say 2020, 19 and the 20s.
So about 5 years ago, 4 years ago? Have you been doing this since then, Todd?
No,
Since the tax
I've not.
peoples haven't been here?
I did not know anything about this until 2022.
Okay, so you've been doing it for 2 years?
Yeah.
Going on 3. I was just getting backstory, that's all. Like I said, I wasn't here. so-
Actually, I didn't start till 23.
Huh.
So there's money out there that, that we could potentially get.
Thank you.
So this is a question off of the handout, the memorandum we got at that finance meeting. And under compliance programs, it says under non-filing programs, the city of Salem had a delinquency program that started on June 7th, 2022 and ended May 22nd, 2023. So at one time we had this program for a short period of time, and why did it end?
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it's the handout you guys handed out at the finance meeting. So this is what we received. And if we go to the second page, I had a few questions off this page actually under the 9 filing programs. I guess my question is the start stop, why? they issued delinquent letters, they identified liabilities, they collected X amount. Where's the rest of it? Are they tying this time period up themselves, or what's the situation with this?
I think that was the 2 attempts.
Okay.
I think that's what they collected from their 2 attempts.
Yeah, that's probably
That's
true.
what they
Mayor's saying
collected,
that's-
that's what Rita collected from their 2 attempts. That was the policy. After that, it had to be sent to the AG's office, because,
Well, it comes to city, it comes to the city
Treasurer
for,
and the AG,
Right.
yeah.
for collection, so for self-collection.
right.
So I guess maybe this is where I'm confused. Once again, the city of Salem had a delinquency program that started and stopped. What does that mean? Why did it start and end? What program is it that started and ended then?
I'm not aware of any.
There
other
is-
than
there
the
isn't
2
any.
letters.
I
Yeah.
just,
Okay, I'm just telling you what was handed out to
Yeah,
me by Rita.
I'm telling you that there was never any collection other than the treasurer processing it through the AG's office. And
Okay,
it
well, we
hasn't
probably,
stopped.
I at least need more clarification on this then, as far as, I guess there's a couple,
that what was
probably more,
collected
I have a
was
few more
what they
questions with regard to this, that probably aren't,
letters.
we should probably send this to them and get some clarification then. What does all this mean? Because they're very similar questions down through this page.
Okay.
Okay, I guess if we could get just some of that outstanding stuff.
Okay. And that'll satisfy?
Well, yeah, once we get that, usually
Okay.
get that information.
Okay. You already.
Okay. And, yeah, and then maybe at this point, I guess I just didn't you sent me some spreadsheets or such, Sal, the collections in process. I do. You sent me like 8 pages and,
Now, if you go to page 1, wait,
this one.
no, it's that same, if you had it up with all the check marks, just go to the very first page of that one, with all the check marks. And go to the first page of this one. Okay. Yeah, so that's the amount right there.
That's the outstanding amount?
No, that was the amount that came in. This is the amount that came in through the AG's office between this time frame.
Tell you what, we should probably have another finance meeting. Nobody else can see my computer screen. And there's,
Yes.
So what Andrew's saying is that email that was sent out to everybody, it's gonna show a ledger, and it's showing approximately $80,000 that was collected between.
So we can just do this at
1/22 to
finance meeting.
12/31.
I think it'd be best if we just continue
Yes.
this conversation during another meeting.
Yes.
Yep, I'll forward you guys,
Okay.
my
Because there are
specific
quite a few
questions.
other questions,
Think so.
So,
so.
okay. Well, nonetheless, I appreciate the flow chart, and we'll, do
Okay.
some more information gathering.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna start my report now. Is that okay?
Oh, I
I'll
thought
get,
this
five
was your
minutes. Just give me
report.
5
I
minutes.
thought
I'll
that
walk
was-
right through this real
Well,
quick.
we're gonna have to talk to Mr. Capizzello and Mr. Donnelly and see if they wanna give up their time for you. Kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, just a reminder that tax season is upon us again, and Rita is our tax collector, so I just want to make sure everybody, the public knows that the treasurer's office cannot process any filings. We don't have the ability to do that. If you need to get a hold of them, you can get on their website at ritaohio.com, or you can call them at 800-860-7482. Okay, the investment board met several times this past year to leverage the city's investments to obtain higher yield. RETA refund monies were received in 2023 fiscal year, which was roughly about $139,000. These monies were moved into a high-yield 3-month CD with Premier Bank. After the 3-month term was met, we moved the funds, roughly $141K, to another high-yield 6-month CD with Farmers Bank. We closed a low-yielding money market account and moved those funds into a higher-yielding money market. Most of these funds are the utilities department funds, which the city benefits from the interest income. In 2024 fiscal year budget, projected the city would benefit in interest income about $350K. This, I'm happy to report, was exceeded with the interest income coming in at $712,045.77. This is an increase of 203% over the budget for fiscal year 2024. the city, let's see, collections at the Attorney General's office. So, the Attorney General's office was able to collect $25,956.32 in 2024. Total sent 2024 to the AG's office for delinquents was $57,661.38. And in '23, I sent $70,039.04 to the Attorney General's office for collection. Income tax was up in 2024 by 6.05%. This can mostly be attributed to the business taxes collected up to 17.49% over 2023. So fiscal year 2023, you had $986,871.94, and the balance of the actual 2024 was $1,159,519.13. There was an increase in individual and withholding taxes as well in 2024, with an increase of 1.42% individual and 4.65% in withholdings. Total income tax refunds for the year budgeted was $100,000. That's if somebody was working from home and they wanted a refund for their taxes. We budgeted $100,000 in 2024. We actually refunded $58,950.62, which is $41,000 below budget. All right, any questions? 5 minutes.
Good job. Thank you. Safety and Services Director, Mr. Capizzello.
Madam President, I do not have a report this evening, but I'd happy to take any questions.
Thank you. And then,
Madam President, I do have a question
ahead.
for Mr. Capizzola. Mr. Capizzola, do we know the total of structures that need to be inspected by the fire department in the downtown of Salem, and where we are in that total inventory today?
I do not have that information, but I'm sure I can get that for
Could
you.
you get it for me? I would appreciate it.
So the request again was the number
I
of,
need the total number of structures, commercial structures that need to be inspected in the downtown by the fire department,
okay,
and how many of those have been inspected to date,
year to date?
please.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
any other questions for Mr. Capizzello? No? Mr. Donnelly for Utilities does not have a report this evening. Moving on to the report of standing committees, the Finance Committee, Mr. Knoll.
Thank you, Madam President. My Finance Committee met February 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Members present, Andrew Knoll, Jake Gano, Janie Bricker, Jeff Stockman. Also in attendance were Sarah Bear, Auditor Sal Salvino, Mayor Cindy Dickey, and Treasurer Todd Mumpire. Mr. Knoll called the meeting to order. Auditor Salvino went through the appropriations ordinance line by line. After discussion, a motion was made and passed 3-0 to forward the ordinance to council. Mrs. Bayer asked Mr. Salvino for a total outstanding bond debt for the city. Mr. Salvino stated he would get the information and forward it to council members. Mr. Mumpire addressed council to discuss debt collection. Currently, Mr. Mumpire sends a report to the Attorney General's office, and they attempt to collect the debt from taxpayers. He recently found out there is a 10% fee from the Attorney General's office of what is collected, and the city incurs the cost. Rita also does debt collection, and they already have all of the records. Mr. Mumpire would like Rita to start taking over the process because they have full-time staff to work on debt. Rita files the filings with the court and fight the case in court. The city law director would no longer have to do this. There is a fee that Rita gets up front, which is around $3,000. I'm going to do my best with this. Claude Ciotes, the government liaison for Rita, addressed council to explain the process. The legal program follows our collection process. The collection process usually stops whenever we get a filing from a taxpayer with an outstanding balance. The collection department tries to make contact with the taxpayer to pay the outstanding balance, set up payments, or negotiate a settlement. If the taxpayer is unresponsive, the collection department forwards the account to the legal department. The legal department only files civil cases to get a judgment on the outstanding balance for the municipality. If there is no judgment in place, there is a statute of limitation, and after 3 years of filing, money cannot be collected anymore. Having a judgment gets rid of the statute of limitations, so Rita can continue to reach out to the taxpayer to try and set up a payment plan. Also, because RETA has a judgment in place, they can garnish wages or attach liens on property. The advances of $3,000 will open the door to start filing cases in court. The court costs are shared between all of the municipalities that RETA files for. Legal fees are also put on the taxpayer. The retainer of $3,000 goes up and down. For example, if a case goes to court, they take $35 per hour out of the retainer fee, and when they get the judgment, the cost goes against the defendant to pay back RETA and replenish the $3,000 retainer. In 2023, the legal department filed a total of 12,000 cases with 250 members of RETA participating. The total collected money for the legal program was $13.3 million. $6.9 million from in-house legal staff, and the total shared cost among the 250 municipalities was $675,000. Mr. Mumpire asked permission to have the law director prepare an ordinance for the treasurer to enter into a contract with RETA for collecting outstanding taxes. A motion was made and passed 3-0 to prepare an ordinance and forward to council. Meeting adjourned. That concludes the minutes, as well as my report.
Thank you. Public Services Committee, Mr. Zellers.
Thank you, Madam President. My committee has not met. I have no report.
Thank you. Residential Committee, Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Madam President. My committee has also not met, therefore I have no report.
Thank you. Downtown Committee, Mrs. Baer.
Madam President, my committee has not met, and I do not have an official report, but I did attend the recent TABS meeting where the new slate of officers was elected and grants were reviewed.
Thank you. Rules and Ordinances, Mr. Stockman.
Thank you, Madam President. My committee did meet prior to the council meeting this evening. I will have another committee meeting, but I'm going to have to announce that because I've got to talk to Attorney Zellers prior to, and I can read those in the minutes at our next council meeting.
Thank you. Safety Committee, Ms. Bricker.
Thank you, Madam President. My committee has not met, therefore I have no report.
Thank you. Economic Development, Mr. Gano.
Thank you, Madam President. We actually will be holding an economic development meeting, March 13th, 6 p.m. here at Council Chambers. It's gonna be a good one, probably top 5 all time for economic development.
Is that a Thursday?
It is.
Committee of the Whole, Mr. Knoll.
Thank you, Madam President. My committee has not met, but I would like to schedule a meeting for 2 weeks from today. You didn't already take that spot, did you, Jeff?
He did.
I did not. I was not going to now.
I would like to schedule a meeting 2 weeks from today at 6 o'clock prior to the regular council meeting.
Will it be top 5 as well, or no?
I don't rank my meetings, so I'll leave that to the public.
They're all top 5s.
Can't have 2 top 5s in the same week.
Oh, what is it regarding, Andrew?
So Ms. Baer presented this with me. She was kind enough to go out and get a year-end report by another municipality, and we'd like to discuss maybe doing something like this for Salem.
Year end.
And the RETA thing? We're also discussing the,
Rita's gonna come through finance.
okay.
But, yeah, we'll leave it at that for the time being.
Great. Thank you. For second and third reading of ordinances, Mr. Stockman, you have ordinance 7 this evening.
Thank you, Madam President. Ordinance number 7 won't be read tonight because we were changing the ordinance.
Mr. Knoll, for introduction of ordinances, you have ordinance 13 this evening.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I just asked the clerk, well, I guess first this is a question for the mayor. As far as this ordinance goes, I have nothing against it, but just getting it yesterday, I'd like to read it a little bit more through. I was just going to ask for the first reading tonight. Is that going to be an issue as far as is it holding up anybody getting paid, or?
It may cause some issues with people getting paid. I mean, they may get paid when they don't want to,
And why is that?
because they're over their 160 hours and they've accumulated more comp time.
Well, okay. We just now learned this? I just received this ordinance yesterday,
Oh, okay.
so. I mean, I don't want anybody not to get paid.
I mean, it's not that they won't get paid, it's they won't get paid in the way that they would like to, that they choose to.
But they're still getting paid under the rules that have been established when they earned that comp time.
Yes, when they took the job.
Yeah, at a higher rate than they would like, according to what our understanding was supposed to be. But that's your decision, so.
Yeah, I would just like, once again, I can't sit here and read it at the council meeting, so I would just prefer it be the first reading this evening. So, Madam Clerk, I move that I'm sorry, Madam President, I move the clerk read ordinance 250304-13 for its first reading by title only.
Madam Clerk, will you please read ordinance 13 by title only?
Being an ordinance to supersede ordinance numbers 2107, 20-48, and 220906-52, setting and amending employee fringe benefits for non-represented employees and city officials, repealing all prior inconsistent ordinances herewith and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Knoll, Resolution 14.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution 14, I don't believe this came out of committee, is that
It did not.
okay. Madam Clerk, I move to waive council rules this evening, so resolution 250304-14 may be brought out this evening.
Is there a second? Mr. Newman?
Mrs. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Bricker?
Yes.
Mr. Gano?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Mr. Stockman?
Yes.
Mr. Zellers?
Yes.
Council rules are suspended. Mr. Knoll?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I move to waive statutory rules this evening, so resolution 250304-14 may have all three readings with the emergency clause this evening.
Is there a second? Mrs. Bear?
Mrs. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Bricker?
Yes.
Mr. Gano?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Mr. Stockman?
Yes.
Mr. Zellers?
Yes.
Statutory rules are suspended. Mr. Knoll?
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the clerk read by title only resolution 250304-14 for passage this evening.
Madam Clerk, will you please read Resolution 14 by title only?
Being a resolution authorizing the fire chief to apply for a grant from the Salem Community Foundation in the amount of $54,729 for the purchase of a LifePak 35 cardiac monitor, defibrillator, and declaring an emergency.
Discussion on Resolution 14.
I
Mr.
have a
Gano?
question, yeah. I know we're asking the Community Foundation for the funding for this, so it looks like it was not in the budget. Have we exhausted other avenues to try to raise funds for this? And I only ask just because I know the Community Foundation is coughing up a lot of money for a lot of things. And I just would hate to, we've asked them for money for the utilities building amongst other things. Would hate to just keep going back to the well asking. I'm okay with it, but I just want to make sure, have we exhausted other funding options first?
Chief, could you answer that?
Chief?
Yeah, Chief Mason?
I haven't looked at any other funding options as of yet. This came up pretty quick. It just, I was approached by University Hospital and the Huntington County Fire Chiefs as a way to try to save money for everybody. So that's why I just kind of put it out there as a proposal, and I'm apologize if I didn't go about it quite the right way.
Not
But
incorrect.
it was just kind of spur of the moment, so I just typed up something and put it out there. It would only save us probably approximately $6,000 by doing this partnership, but it is a cost savings.
$6,000, yeah.
That's $6,000.
Okay. Yep.
So, I mean, there probably are throughout the year, there might be some other grants. I don't see it being quite that much, but
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
And if
I
I-
have
yeah.
a question. Is this savings because they're doing several, you know,
yes,
that they're doing it in bulk?
yes, a bulk order for multiple departments and a university hospital.
Because I will say that if this is the unit that's a LifePak 35, that's a pretty darn good deal. Even the 15s that we have as our primary one now that doesn't do quite as much, not quite as good a technology, is about that cost.
Correct. And our Life Pack 12, it is beyond its serviceability.
It is.
It was donated through University Hospital in 2000. It was January 2019. They donated it, and they've paid for all the preventive maintenance on that ever since.
Have we had any problems with it?
It's starting to, batteries are starting to go, and just no more parts. They quit making them in 2020, so it's been passing preventive maintenance, but it's getting to the point where I gotta put money into it, but you can't find parts anymore.
You can't get the batteries.
No. Aftermarket, but no guarantee of how well they're gonna work.
What's the projected life expiration of the Life Pack 15?
The Life Pack 15, I believe at least through 2030. That right now is on our ambulance primary. The Life Pack 12 is on our engine. Even with our staffing, even if we had 12 more ambulances, our second unit out would still be an engine, because that way we don't have to go back to the station and grab an engine if there's a fire. But the thought would be, if we did get the Life Pack 35, it would be on our primary transport ambulance, and then the Life Pack 15 would move to the engine.
Thank you. Oh,
no
sorry,
problem.
Mr. Knoll.
I was just gonna say, and this resolution is just authorizing to apply for the grants.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, in the meantime, you could probably look for other
Yes,
opportunities as well,
In case
so.
you get turned down, I would assume
Yeah.
looking other areas and other opportunities.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Chief,
Huh?
appreciate it.
No problem.
Are we good for a, okay.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Gano?
Yes.
Mrs. Bear?
Yes.
Ms. Bricker?
Yes.
Mr. Zellers?
Yeah.
Mr. Stockman?
Yes.
Resolution 14 has passed. Pleasure of council, Mr. Stockman.
Thank you very much, Madam President, but I have nothing this evening.
Well
I
done.
apologize.
Thank you.
Mr. Bricker?
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Zellers?
I have nothing either.
Mrs. Bear?
There are just a couple of updates on ways to safely secure your expired medications, and introduction to a new program called Golden Friends that I have passed to Clerk of Council and asked her to send through text.gov. So just some public information.
Thank you. Mr. Newman?
Thank you, Madam President. I have nothing.
Mr. Gano?
I'd like to wish Councilman Newman a wonderful time in Cancun tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mr. Knoll?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
When I get there. All right, I gotta go.
It's getting so warm here.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're supposed to get snow the next 3 days.
Bring us back some more.
Yeah, I'll try. I did look at the forecast and saw that it's supposed to warm up after the next. My passport hasn't expired yet. I'll call Andrew. He can help out.
Oh, yeah, I gotta give it back to her. It's just a nice summary of what happened. You know, stats, yeah. I just thought, she thought it was pretty cool, which I did as well, very informative, and wouldn't mind us looking into something doing like that, just in maybe a PDF format. I'm not saying printing up a bunch of them, but put it on the city's website or something. Yep. Okay, gotcha.